I used to work with a girl that Whitney Houston belted singing. She would come into the shop and I'd be like in the zone, like really like enjoying my time with my client. She'd just slap her skateboard down, roll to the back of the room and just belt like, like what are you
That's
getting
pretty good.
at? And I couldn't stand it. And then one day I'm tattooing and I was like, shut the fuck up.
How's the laser business going? Good?
He's fucking killing.
That's awesome.
He's doing
Because
so
that's
good. It pisses me off.
it's harder than it looks to get that going and getting it to
Like,
really flow. And
it's crazy how many people want laser because I need to remember not to kick because he'll get like 8 clients a day. And then I think about, okay, my first 6 months into tattooing, I couldn't get 8 clients in weeks.
yeah. Like, it's a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
a lot of work.
What are we talking about today?
Well, on my way here, I was listening to the podcast,
Yeah.
just kind of getting excited and getting prepared to talk and all that. And I realized you just talked with Gabe Ripley.
Yeah.
And I just did a tattoo seminar ran by Gabe.
Cool.
It was the first time I ever met him. So it was actually really cool. It was my first seminar I've ever done. So I was really, really, really nervous. But it was ran by Gabe and my buddy who owns Boston Tattoo Company. And he owns a B&B up in North Conway, New Hampshire. And the B&B is called the Samuel O'Reilly House. And that's the guy that invented the first tattoo machine.
Right.
Sammy O.
Yeah, so the inside of it's actually really cool. He kind of made it designed to look like you're in the bottom of a ship, and it's super fancy. And he has a guest house there that he brings his guest artists to. And so he makes a whole retreat out of it. So Nick Baxter does painting seminars there. He did it the week before I did. And so what we did is I brought my friend TJ Poole along. And we did it's a 3-day course. And you're just in the middle of the mountains. And it's gorgeous. There's like, in the seminar room, there's just floor-to-ceiling windows. And you just see mountains and rivers. And it's great. But it was really small and really intimate. There was maybe like 6 tattooers, and we just talk all day. Our presentations are all day. I have one day, TJ had one day, and then the third day, we do a collaboration tattoo, and then the other artists do portions of that tattoo on a fake skin so they can get up and watch and see what we're doing, apply those things, and it was really cool because you're spending 3 days with these young artists, so it's not an impersonal experience. I was so fucking nervous to do this because it was my first one, and I'm such a type A. This needs to be perfect. I need to have a presentation. It needs to last this long, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. You need a lot of structure. You want it to be really tight, really well planned.
I killed myself on that thing, and it was a really good, it ended up being really good. I went over a little bit too long because I over-prepared, and then I see TJ, who's done seminars. He's like, yeah, so, let's fucking get this. And he's just so comfortable. He is not, in any way doing, PowerPoint like I did and stuff like that. But people were still just as engaged and immersed in it. And it was really awesome to see that people that do completely opposite styles of tattooing have the same, I guess, different paths to the same ending.
Kind of outcome, of everything.
Yeah, so, when these people are coming to learn, you're going to say things that directly contradict what the other presenter is talking about. But in the end, there's still the same kind of, end goal.
Yeah.
That's just like an apprenticeship. So many times Vega asked me a question that he asked you first, and I told him
the
something
total
totally opposite of what you did. And he's like, what do I do?
Well, I guess if it's your apprentice, do you go, me? I don't know. How does that work?
Well, I've always said is do what works for you, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just do what works for you. Too many times, we get caught up on this is the way I was taught, or this is the way that, whatever. But it's at the end of the day, you could have done something for 5 years and thought that was the best way, and then somebody teaches you another way, and you're like, fuck, I've been doing this the dumbest way forever, Right. So it's one little thing can just change it all. Or somebody else can show you something and they're like, meh, that wouldn't just work for my process, Right. 'Cause I think this whole process of tattooing can be so different for everyone. I remember looking at when I first read Guy Aitchison's like reinventing the
Tattoo?
tattoo, right? And it's like the whole like you're gonna use a 3 to 5 liner and you're gonna build that up.
Oh,
build
yeah,
that.
circle those in.
You're gonna.
Yeah.
I was like, cool. I hope that works for you, buddy. But I'm gonna fucking run this 14 round and fucking pull this thing real tight and get a really nice line that I like without doing that.
That book had a chokehold on the industry, though. It really did. There were some tattooers I worked with that were doing that layering process.
Yeah.
I just wasn't taught that way. I was taught by a traditional artist. So it's like, get it in, do it once, walk away. I mean, it's a different path, and you get to the same place.
same place.
It's really whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting about like having Gabe there, that I didn't know who he was. I really had no idea. But I was talking about, like, I had my intro story to kind of let everybody get to know how I got here as a tattooer. And I was talking about how one of my first, like, real challenges in my apprenticeship was having to do a black and gray portrait, but I didn't have any, like, the problem was I wasn't given the correct needles. I wasn't given I didn't have a gray wash set. I didn't have any of this stuff. And I had like a machine that was tuned to hit like a jackhammer, like all these crazy things. And I didn't know what to do. I had never done a black and gray portrait. So all I did is I watched that Bob Tyrell black and gray portrait video, that DVD back in the day. And I don't know if you guys did this, but if one artist had a DVD of a tattooer's like thing, and then you just share it, and it just gets passed around the whole town.
Yeah.
And you go, oh man, did you see how he did this thing, right? So I watched that thing religiously. I was like, I need to learn how to do this correctly, right? And I was just talking about how that really changed my my whole experience in the tattoo, and just taking certain seminars or just watching one thing is that light bulb moment. And then Gabe was standing in the back, and he goes, oh, I produced that video.
Oh, shit.
I made that with Bob. I was like, no shit. So the video that actually taught me how to do like one of the bigger styles that I do now, I was indirectly teaching a new generation of tattooers about how this one video like 15 years ago or something.
You had that moment of like, that's me now.
It's like, it was full circle. It was so weird. I was like, no, you didn't. He goes, yeah, I did it. You know, Gabe, that was me. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really cool, though. And TJ was like, yeah, I fucking love that DVD.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. I never watched that DVD.
I never saw that one either.
I never saw that one, but I did get tattooed by Bob.
You did?
Yeah. I got tattooed by Bob. He did a Salvador Dali on my thigh, this guy right here. And I got it right there because I wanted to fucking watch the whole thing happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's just the coolest fucking nicest dude ever.
Yeah.
And he was just like talking to me and telling me what he was doing and why he was doing it, you know, the whole time. And he was just super good, super nice. And I was like, man, I still love this tattoo. Like, it still looks great for as old as it is. And it's like,
what year was that?
shit, dude. Damn. I feel like this was like 2009, 2010 at the most.
It still looks great.
2009, 2010. And yeah, like it's crazy because he used, there was an artist at Last Rites. He was doing a guest spot at Last Rites. And there was an artist named Toxic, who's a badass. And he was like trying to convince Bob to use like, I don't know, like it was like 12 mag, like a 13 mag or a 15 mag.
Compared to what? What was he?
This is where it's at, right? And then he was like, yeah, Bob, you'll be able to fucking, you know, you'll fly through that thing. Like, it'll be so good. And Bob used it for like 5 minutes. And he was like, no. He put on a 5 curved bug pin. Like you know, like the tiniest little needle, dude. Like, it's just a 5 mag curved, all bug pins, is small, dude. And that he's like, no, I feel comfortable with this. And then he did the whole tattoo with this tiny little needle, dude. That I'm like, it took forever. But guess what? It's fucking perfect. And it's so smooth, you know? And he grabbed every little bit of detail and he's like, yeah, I feel comfortable working like this, you know? And like now thinking about how I do certain things, I'm like, God damn, that would, like, no wonder it takes so long. To do it that way, like, you can achieve a great level of detail, but I feel like it takes forever. And when I see people that can do like the total opposite, like the Joshua Carlton DVD, that he's like, you can do everything with like a fucking 25 mag.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like a completely different school of thought.
That was the DVD I watched.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's like exactly kind of what you're talking about, where like, you know, you can have two people that can achieve really great results, but just completely different approaches. And there's no wrong or right. It's all about what works for you, what works with what you feel really comfortable with, you know?
Can you even buy a 5 mag anymore?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Who makes them?
Actually, Helios makes some.
Okay.
So 5 bug pins, so it's essentially
A
like
3 mag.
It's like it's so tiny, it's so small. But I used one during a portrait, and it was great.
Yeah?
Yeah, just really great to get like something that you would normally probably use a round for, you know.
Yeah.
But by using it with that, like, you know, just because it has that little curved edge, just a little softer, a little smoother, and it was cool.
I feel like that's a huge part of becoming a better tattooer is getting tattooed by people that you really admire and that you really love, and especially in a visible place. And just a few months ago, I got tattooed on my thigh, same location, by Nico Hurtado. And I'm so happy I got it there because I got to watch.
Yeah.
And it's not like I do color portraits. I don't. But that's not to be said that I can't learn anything from this experience. And I get to actually see it happening. And sometimes I tell people, you know, just get tattooed. Get tattooed by as much as you can, by everybody, and ask as many questions as you can. And that's really where you're going to see a lot of those like improvements. At least for me, when I got tattooed, that
Are you wearing
helps me.
Are you wearing pants? I want to see that tattoo.
Being able to see how he saturates everything and how his method is completely different than mine. I wanted to go home and do a bunch of color.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. I was like, oh fuck, man, I want to play around with these things now. I want it because if not that I ever could tattoo that good in that way, but it's at least good to try.
I feel like you could. I mean, like it's a more. I was saying this the other day. I was like doing other styles like color realism or something like that. Like if you work in black and gray all the time and you're really good at it, you obviously understand how to do smooth shading. Your hand moves just the right way. Mm-hmm. It's just applying it to a different thing, and then also we're getting really, really comfortable with a color palette, you know? Mm-hmm. And that's why I think it's such a good idea when like you're doing color tattoos to just have, even if you don't use all those colors, just lay them out. Just so you have that consistency.
I lay out an insane amount of colors. Like colors that I won't even use, I just like having it there because you might want to dip into the next color. And now you made a nice little fancy color that didn't exist before. Like I did my first full color tattoo that I haven't done one of those in at least 3 years yesterday. And normally, if it was black and gray, it would have taken me 4.5 hours. I was there until 1 a.m.
Oh, my gosh.
It was so long. And I was so humbled. I was like, God damn. I have so much respect for people that do this all the time. But even though I say that, I used to do color exclusively. That's what I used to do. That's how I started. I was trained as a traditional tattooer, and that's a shit ton of color. And then I was like, I want to do this more realistic looking. So I just did color for a long, long time. But I just took a break because color takes so long. And my back was going through a lot of like issues. And I was like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to do black and gray because I can bang out a lot more pieces, like easier. And then now here we are. Because that's all I was posting. That's all I had to post. So people thought, okay, well, if this is what she does, and this is what we go to her for. Mm-hmm. And that's something I realized, too, that, you know, I've talked to some of those artists in the seminar. A big part of it was just, even after the seminar, we would go out to dinner and just have normal conversation. And they're saying, man, I really, really want to be able to do these tattoos, but nobody does them. Like, nobody wants to get them. And I said, well, just do them for free. Do them for free on some friends.
Yeah.
And stop posting the things that you don't want to do.
For sure.
You're literally inviting
more of what you don't want.
Yeah. So during that time when I had to make that transition, I was doing a shit ton of color tattoos, but I was like, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to do. If anything, I was doing a lot of space tattoos.
Yeah.
And I became the space girl. It's like, they'd say, oh, I want to do like a really pretty lady face and a rose. And I'd be like, cool, cool, cool. And then it says, in space. You're
like,
okay. All right.
Yeah, doing tons of space tats. Like, I've done just a few of them. And each time I'm like, ugh, this was just too much.
It's like I compared it to doing like the watercolor tattoos. It feels exactly the same. It feels exactly the same.
I do a lot of the same techniques that I do in space when I do a watercolor tattoo, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, that was what I was telling them. I was like, well, you know, I mean, if you have to post, then post, but it might be better for you if you're trying to get into a new style or find something that you want to be known for, then instead of waiting for someone to pay top dollar for that style, if you really want to do it, just do a couple freebies or really discount it. Do it on some buddies and post that. Just do it as long as they sit through the whole thing. And now you have content. Now people see that you can do this. Now that they see that you like to do this, they have a person to go to. And I did that a lot whenever I was trying to transition out of just doing space tattoos. I did a whole bunch of space tattoos. I had to pay the bills. I wasn't going to cancel all these appointments, but I just stopped posting them. And I started doing discounts on lady faces and just racked up enough to where that's, okay, well, she does those now. So people know that, and now they come to me for that. Yeah. So it's what you share is what you're going to receive.
For sure. For sure. Today, like, Caro, like, asked me, and she was like, oh, man, I really want to do more portraits. And I'm like, just start doing more portraits.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you want your feed to be a bunch of portraits, you might have to give some deals on portraits until people are like, oh, shit, I like all these portraits. And then all of a sudden, they're like, all right, full price.
Want to do a real boss move and delete everything off of your Instagram.
Whoa.
And just start all over.
Just start all over with the stuff that you want to do.
Man,
Good.
There's times that I've done that one time, and God damn it, it took so long to get rid of all those posts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. You really got to have some patience to archive everything or just, like, delete it, if anything. But
I try to keep mine pretty minimal. Like, I still feel like there is a lot of stuff on my Instagram, but it's, I think I'm at, like, 200 posts maybe.
Okay.
Out of 13 years of having Instagram, 200 posts. So, like, I
You edited everything? Like, you got rid of a bunch of old stuff?
I'll post something, and then a couple of days later, if I'm not really feeling it, I'll just get rid of it.
I mean, that's one way. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I have some bizarre attachment to
old stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I have gotten rid of some terrible shit that I thought was amazing back then. It's like, oh, no, I shouldn't show this. But, yeah, I mean, even, like, just the tattoo that I posted today, like, I didn't feel great about it, but I want to do more color. I'll do better next time. I mean, I do feel good about it. I don't feel as confident as I do with black and gray because I'm so out of the loop. And I even put in there, I'm going to go back and hit this up again, but, you know, yada, yada. I just know that if I post color, then that means people are going to come to me with more color. I want to do more because that's a very fatigued muscle in me.
Yeah.
And I need to get back into it, and I really want to. And, I feel like people aren't going to come to me for that unless I show them. So
that you do it.
Right.
And I think people just want to do stuff that they see at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If they see it, they like it. They're like, I want something like that.
Yeah, I also did a Explorer tattoo conference.
How was that? I've been dying to actually go to one of those. I just haven't had the time.
It was rad.
It
was really cool. Yeah, it was totally different than the first seminar that I did because it's very impersonal during the normal business hours because I think there was 100-something people, and you're standing on stage, and it looks like you're in the middle, like you're on a Dr. Phil set. I think it might have been a Dr. Phil set, but it was on like a college campus, and I felt so fancy. They gave me like a little clicker and all this stuff, so it was way different than, oh, here's my projected, thing. It was super pro and very streamlined, and it was just so wild to see 100-something people just staring back at you waiting. It felt like, you remember at the end of Wolf of Wall Street? Do you remember that last scene of Wolf of Wall Street where they're just sitting there and Jordan Belfort's talking, and he sees a room full of people that just want to be rich. They really want to get somewhere. They want to improve, and you're realizing everyone is hanging on your word.
Yeah,
on your every single word.
Just waiting to hear what's coming out next.
Right, and if you don't have a thought, the air is just sucked out of the room, and you realize the awkwardness is because you're not talking.
Yeah.
So I had to be on, just really, really on, and I was so nervous. I was like scratchy, dry throat. I was like, hold on, guys, just gonna drink my water. And then I'd like make quick little quips of, hey, I feel really nauseous. But so here, this is how I do this. And then there's people before me who are so seasoned in it, like Mike Chambers, Dan Pemble, Big Mees was there. There was other artists there, Deanna Smith and Brian Sanchez, I think. But it was really, really awesome because, again, I'm that type A. I need to make everything perfect, and I need to rehearse this. It's got to be great. And some of the other presenters were up there just chilling.
Just winging
doing
it.
what they do. And they looked so comfortable. And I was like, how do you do that? For me, I have to really kind of just loosen up and get into it and just kind of stare at the back of the wall and just kind of, I felt like I was just stepping out of my body. I was like, there's too many people relying on everything I'm saying. It's a lot of pressure.
That's how I would feel too. If I were to prepare and spend like, I don't know how long you did, but if I were to prepare and spend like weeks practicing, as soon as I got up there to do it, I would be like, oh fuck, and everything would just go out the window.
That's exactly what
Everything goes
happened.
out the window.
Yeah, I would lose it all.
It's the eyeballs on you. It's the silence in the room waiting for you. It's the microphone that you have. And this hour and a half is on your every word. But the bigger thing that I got from that more of the pressure, it's not just necessarily like public speaking. It was, I remember I've only taken a few seminars, but every one that I did changed everything about tattooing for me.
For sure.
And it would be, sometimes some of them would not have many things that it would really hit me, but there'd be one thing that they would say, and I'd be like, oh, shit, duh, that's it.
That would click.
That's that one thing.
Yeah.
And that changed it. And I felt like, could I be saying something to somebody in this room that will change their direction of tattooing for the rest of their career? And it's a lot of pressure, but it was really, really cool because I feel like there's probably people in that room that took something. And I felt like for the first time, instead of serving myself, I was giving back to the community for the first time. And that was really awesome to feel.
You know what's crazy? That's what I feel like we do here every week.
Yeah.
Like that's literally exactly what you're talking about is what I feel that we do here every week. Like having the conversations that we have and just being real with each other and just sharing our experiences and, you know, trials and tribulations of doing this, you know, and just putting it out there for people to know can really affect someone. And I feel like the power of that is huge once you realize that you have it. And you're like, oh man, I can really like, you know, inspire someone to do more, to be better, to want to like pursue their dreams. And I feel like that's huge. And like, you know, doing that, I feel like just gives you such a good, rewarding fucking feeling of just like the fact that it's like, man, I might touch somebody somewhere and they're going to be inspired to fucking be their best fucking selves because of just this little bit that might go out there. Who knows what it may be, you know, or what little tip you're going to give them that is like, oh man, that really changed the way I was looking at things. Right. And I feel like it's really valuable. And I feel like in anything you do, whether it is, you know, tattooing or life, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, inspiring people is one of the most important things you can do with your life and in your time on this fucking planet, you know? Whether it is like your loved ones, your friends, or just fucking strangers, you know? Something as simple of like the whole idea of like pay it forward, you know what I'm saying? It's a powerful thing to do. And I feel like if more people, you know, did that, you know, we'd all be in a better fucking place.
Yeah. It's hard to remember too that sometimes like the things that you take for granted that you do every day and to you it's just second nature, you think that everybody knows this. Like not everybody knows that. It's just simple things too that you could just remind somebody real quick, like, yeah, that'll really make a big difference. And sometimes you got to remember, you got to remind yourself that if you say it once, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to hear it.
Yeah.
You got to say it multiple times. Different clicks will hear it.
For sure.
Do you look back at your comments and people are saying like, this really like changed my opinion or you know, whatever, like people giving feedback? Do you read the feedback? And
yeah, I do. And the people in the comment section, you're assholes.
Oh, they're fun.
I love the comment section.
They came after me after I posted our first video.
What'd they say?
Woo-wee. That was a Good time. It was when I said that people that wear headphones when they're tattooing are rude.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Holy moly.
People got triggered.
And you know what's crazy too?
Trigger me timbers, bro. Like,
Yeah.
they were not happy.
That was early on too, before we had a lot of, or we don't have a lot, but before we had as many followers as we do now, like the comment section gets nutty now.
Yeah. But for the first time, I never usually allow hate. I kind of just let it happen. Keep giving me, keep that engagement going,
Keep it
guys.
going.
Yeah.
Keep talking.
But I think it was a really positive experience for me coming on here and talking about things that are, you know, somewhat controversial, because it invited people to have a different opinion in a public forum. And I feel like there's so many people in this world that are emotionally and intelligently stifled by their echo chamber and by not having anyone disagree with them. And I thought I felt really confident about what I said that night, and then I let the comments kind of trickle in over a day, and some of them actually did change my mind a little bit.
No, I agree. Reading the comments section of our stuff, I changed my opinion about some of the things that we've said also.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of it was a lot of people were saying like they were on the spectrum and stuff, and I was like, well, I mean, I understand that, but we weren't talking about people with autism. We were talking, you know, about the majority, but I respect that. And then some other people were giving me things like, it's just my shop owner plays terrible music and it's so distracting and I hate it. Or the person next to me, I can't stand them. They're loud and they're obnoxious, or whatever. And those were valid things. And I got to respond to them, and it actually made me loosen up my opinion on what I said that time. But had I not been open to that discourse, had I not allowed that discourse by posting it, I would have thought the same thing about every single person ever that's tattooing with headphones, or anything in general. If you have like an opinion on anything and you don't have anyone challenge it, you're not going to grow, you're not going to change anything. I think there's too many people that are just used to hearing themselves talk back at them because they don't want to be challenged. I love that you guys will say some shit on here unapologetically, and I try to live my life that way because, you know, I think there's value in being genuine and being face value, and not having this bullshit thing that you have to have veiled to the rest of the world to keep up a certain appearance. I love that you guys do that. So
thank you. That's the whole idea behind Honest Tattooer, is just to come out here, just say what's on your mind, just say it because it's just the three of us having a conversation at the end of the day, and other people get to hear it, you know, and you're going to either like it or not like it. At the end of the day, you know, we're not really having the conversation thinking about what you're going to think about it. We just want to be able to have it because we have so many years of experience doing this, and then share it with you guys. You can take your bits of it that you find useful, I think, at the end of the day. And then like there's moments though that like what you're talking about, like especially specifically the examples that you gave just now about I spoke to somebody like through the comments that, you know, mentioned they were on the spectrum and that's why they use headphones, and I was like, I get it, but you're a special circumstance, you know what I'm saying? Like, and not everybody has that same thing. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you that even though that is how you work better, it would probably do you better overall as a tattooer if you took them off and were able to talk to your client. I know that you can, you know, you have your reasons of why you can't do that, but it still doesn't change the fact that it would be better if you could talk to your client, you know?
if they could.
You could, you know?
I think a big part of it is people with certain issues want to feel more recognized in blanket statements. But when you are making a blanket statement, you're not really considering the special circumstances. And if somebody, you know, is on the spectrum in any way, then do anything possible to make sure that you're doing the best job you can. Like, don't let anything get in the way. Absolutely. I get it. But had those people not reached out to me, I would have kept saying that shit, and I would have been like, fuck it. Like, still rude. Like, but it made me think twice. Oh yeah, maybe, you know, some people do think a certain way. Like, people are different than me. And it's just, I don't think it's a healthy way of living if you don't allow people to disagree with you.
For sure. And then like for the person, if the person that's, you know, said that, you know, the person next to me that I worked with is really fucking obnoxious.
That sucks.
Fucking grow a pair and go talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, just talk to them. I'm sure that unless they're the fucking worst fucking person in the world, if you just talk to them and you're like, hey man, like I literally got to put my headphones on because you're kind of obnoxious.
Yeah,
You know?
a lot of people said that they work in really, really crazy busy shops that it's just too much noise.
Yeah.
And I'm used to my cute little environment of like 4 or 5 tattooers in a room, and it's like calm, like nice music, and everything is perfect. I'm not in some of those situations as other people are. Sometimes I do gotta like kind of check out a little bit. But then that comes with another string of scenarios that people have to deal with, and it's like, oh, well, maybe are you in the best working environment to do the best job?
Right.
I don't know. So.
And I've worked in so many places where they were both like people that I fucking couldn't stand. And I'm like, oh, their fucking voice is just irritating me. You know what I'm saying? And like, but it's one of those things that I just always consider. I'm like, oh, but this is just for a little bit, dude. I'm just here for, this is not going to be my whole day necessarily. I'm not going to drag this on. And they don't annoy me every day, but sometimes they do. You know what I'm saying? So I just like take it as like, it's just part of the day.
Yeah.
You
Just
know?
suck it up.
Just suck it up.
I don't know. I used to work with a girl that Whitney Houston belted singing.
I worked with a guy the same way.
Oh my
Same way.
God.
Same,
So
dude.
annoying.
Oh man, yes.
She would come into the shop and I'd be like in the zone, like really like enjoying my time with my client. She'd just slap her skateboard down, roll to the back of the room, and just belt like, and like what are you
That's
getting
pretty good.
at, bro?
That's pretty good. Oh man.
I'm like, and I couldn't stand it. And then one day I'm tattooing and I was like, shut the fuck up. And she did. We don't work together anymore. But yeah, I was like, all right, this ain't working out. But you know, there's different environments for different people. Some people do better in like really busy environments. Some people do better in like private, quiet studios. And you know, you got to go wherever you're going to do the best work. And that's kind of why I made my studio the way it is. I wanted to build the perfect environment in which I do my best work. And if anybody else, you know, works the same way, then come on in.
Yeah. I think that's the same reason why I wanted to even open up a shop, you know, to begin with. I just want to create a cool environment where I can work with my friends. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. That was literally the only reason to open up a shop.
And then you have to clean it up when it floods, and then you have to be there at
and then all the other shit that, yeah, the adulting part of this sucks.
Yeah. I am really interested to see where a lot of these new tattooers that bypassed the tattoo studio life and just jumped into private studios, I'm interested to see where their path goes.
Me too. So just yesterday, we had a conversation with Brandon. Yeah. And he's, you know, a 5-year tattooer who opened up a tattoo studio with
his girlfriend.
His girlfriend, who's also a tattooer, and his best friend, who also is a tattooer, you know? So it's these 3 people. They're all 5-year and under tattooers.
Oh, my.
In a shop. Yeah, I know.
That'll be fun.
You know, that was like, well,
Maybe
that's
they'll
what
kill
I
it.
said too. I was like, all of this sounds very interesting. I can't wait to do a follow-up maybe like later. Because it's like, I mean, to me at least, the idea of opening up a tattoo shop 5 years in, you know, with my girlfriend sounds wild.
I feel like your career, someone said this to me once, and I feel like it kind of applies to me at least. Your career doesn't really start until about like 5 years in.
Yeah.
But at least for your friend's situation, at least he's not going into it jaded.
Yeah.
To give him credit, he put in his time, maybe not in the years, but he put in his time like going from shop to shop. He worked in like 6 or 7 shops before he opened up his own.
Is that good though? 5 years in?
It's red flaggy.
Right, but if you hear his story, he wasn't moving on because like people were telling him like, yeah, you suck it out of here. He was moving on because
he was trying to find the right place.
He was trying to find the right spot for himself.
Shopping around.
Yeah. Kind of like, you know, what you're saying, like you got to find a place where you can grow, you know?
Right.
You got to find the right pot so your little plant can grow.
Right. Well, and whenever I interview people, depending on how many years they've been tattooing, it's actually a question I ask, like, how many years have you been tattooing? How many shops have you worked at? Because there's something to be said about people. unless I hear their specific story. If they
Yeah.
were to tell me something that actually makes sense to me, like, oh, yeah, that wasn't right for you, you should have moved on.
Mm-hmm.
A shop hopper is not a good thing.
No, there's always a reason why you're hopping around so much.
Yeah.
You
At
know?
least to a business owner, it's not going to be a good thing, but you also don't want to feel emotionally obligated to stay at one place because they make you feel that way. Because really, in the end, you should just be worrying about yourself. The shop is not your responsibility when you don't own it. You should just be worrying about yourself. So even whenever I hire anybody, I don't think of it as them being long-term. I think they're going to be here as long as they need to be until they got as much as they needed to out of being here. And I wish them well when they leave, if they're not a dick.
Right.
Because I needed to go through that. I needed to work at a few shops that were just not right for me. Because if I were to have stayed there, my career would have been in the shitter. It wouldn't have worked out. And I don't want to make someone feel compelled to work with me because you know how some people like, oh, I'm going to work at this job and just so I can have on my resume that I was a manager for at least 2 years. Like, it's not necessarily like that in tattooing because what we actually have, like these tattoos that we can show, that's the value that we're showing.
Yeah.
You know, but also I don't want to hire someone who's really good but like leaves every 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, that's gross.
Yeah, that kind of just sucks. It's like it shows the lack of commitment. And, you know, like I said, like, you know, having somebody that hops around from shop to shop often, a lot of times those people will always blame whatever the shop is. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I left that place because of X, Y, Z. And then I left that place because of X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying?
We should start asking people who come on the show, like how those guys from like Wasted, like, oh, what's your body count? We should be like, oh, what's your shop count?
What's your shop count?
Right?
Oh, that's
You're
pretty
like, damn,
good.
he's a slut.
Oh, man. Because, like, fuck, you know, if you've been to many shops and then every shop has a problem, I'm like, maybe the problem is you, buddy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever hired anybody that's worked at like a bunch of shops, but if anybody did, that would definitely like set my little red flags going.
Yeah.
Like, I should
that
probably
makes
talk
sense.
to like these shop owners and see what is the trend with this person, you know?
Yeah, it's good to have that in the back of your pocket, knowing that, all right, well, they're probably not going to last that long, but I'm really just going to hire. At this point, I feel like being a shop owner, I've gone through many different identities in that. I went from, all right, we need to have a full house because we just opened the shop, we're a lot in debt, we got to like make our investment back.
Yeah.
And then I've gone to, oh, everybody left because of COVID. Then it was, we're just going to hire enough people to fill the spots. But then I was like, the vibe in here is not it. Why did I open this place?
Yeah.
Why, like, I have to remember, why did I open this place? Because I wanted to do cool tattoos in a cool environment with my friends. It's not about necessarily, for me, just, you know, it's very rare that you open a tattoo shop just to make money. It's very rare that actually really works out for a lot of people. For me, at least if you're a tattooer that owns a shop, you're just creating an environment that you want to be in. And so I actually paused hiring anybody that just is, you know, like, I only want to work with people that bring a good, positive vibe to the room. Because I've worked with people, I've hired people that were just kind of like an emotional drag, and you're just like, man, like, this is tough.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this? I built this place. This is my sacred space. It needs to be filled with people that is a good team, a good vibe. And so I feel like that's what I'm doing now. I'm making sure that everybody around me, if I do that in my normal life, if I only allow for positive people in my normal life, why shouldn't I have that in my tattoo studio?
For sure.
It's gonna feel different when you're working.
Yeah. I mean, like, the shop is literally your second home. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it is your second home. You're going to spend more time here than anywhere else. So, like, if you wouldn't want to have this person in your fucking house taking up space, breathing all the fucking air.
My precious air. It's my air.
You're breathing my fucking air in here.
I paid for this air.
You know? Like, fuck. Why would you have them anywhere else? For sure.
Yeah, building a good team and just having good tattooers around you and people that are going to push you. And actually, I think it's a good thing now to be around people that are going to tell you when you actually did bad. I have a buddy of mine that I can text any tattoo picture and I like clinch like, oh, he's going to actually tell me the truth.
He's going to give it to you straight.
And he does. And sometimes it breaks my heart and I go, oh shit, yeah, I know, you're right. But sometimes he says things like, you know what, you really did this good and you did this correctly. I try to do that in my studio as much as I can. Like, this is where you did really good. I think you should do this differently. Or I try to prevent that before they do that. But it's also being in a place of, I don't know, I like this educational part of my life. It's actually been really fun, and it's almost cathartic because I feel like, at least at Explorer, there was a portfolio review party where basically everyone lines up just to get their souls destroyed.
Critiqued. Yeah.
Oh, but it is like, it was wild to watch because some of them were like, you know, let me show you this, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they're so excited, and I'm going to say something that's going to hurt their feelings.
How many images of each artist did you critique?
I think I critiqued 40 people that night.
But of those 40 people, was it 40 tattoos?
No, I would go through their book,
Okay.
and I would see something that actually I thought needed to actually be critiqued, but one of them told me, well, I did an Explorer before, and one of the presenters did something that was really, it really hurt my feelings. And I was like, what'd they do? They said to show them their most proud piece, the piece that they think they did the best at.
Yeah.
And that was the piece the presenter wanted to critique. And she was like, now, and I feel weird because I don't know if I like it anymore. And I said, I don't think that was a bad idea.
I think that's a great idea.
I think they did the right thing.
Yeah. Like, show me what you're the most stoked on, and then I'm going to tell you how it could be better.
Right.
Like,
but keeping in mind, we are sensitive. We're artists. Here's everything that I'm proud of, and I'm talking to my favorite artist ever. Now, please tell me what you think. And then it gets destroyed. You're like, oh, no. But that's the negative. That's the negative response. It shouldn't be that. It should be, oh my God, I'm getting input from my favorite artists. They're telling me. They're literally spelling it out what I can do better. And I thought I did great. Guess what? I didn't. I didn't do great.
But I think there's different kinds of critiques. You know, there's the ones that are like, you know, like very personal, like personal taste critique of like, well, I would have liked to see this, you know? You didn't need to see that, but I get it. That's what you would have liked. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how you know, and that could be something of like, it's not wrong, but maybe looking at it like this would have made it different, maybe better, maybe not better, just different, you know? And then there's something that's, you know, just, you can't argue that would have made it better, you know? Like, or like this was just a poor choice. And I feel like that's what, at the end of the day, we're all human, we're all artists. So I'm going to tell you something that it's maybe just my taste in tattoos, and it's not going to necessarily make it a less tattoo than it is. And you got to be able to, you know, see the difference. When you speak to another artist, they're going to tell you things that have to do with like their art themselves, but also their personal taste, you know? And don't get offended if somebody tells you that in their personal taste, this would be better, you know? But also keep your ears open to the things that are just arguably like, that's just, you know, this would be better, you know, and take that seriously.
There's so many people that will argue that, though, like, oh, what do you mean, you know, art is subjective. There is no objective reality to that, but sometimes sometimes there is good and bad, right?
Especially in tattooing.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, too. Like, I've read some of the comments on, like, when people are talking about, like, those purposely bad tattoos, where people are like, oh, but no, this is what I like. This is what I want. Who are you to say this is a bad tattoo if I like it?
Bushwick Superstars.
It's a bad tattoo.
Yeah.
It's a bad one.
Yeah, no, it's. I think there's a trend in that going on right now. Bad tattoos are an aesthetic now.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you want to be a bad tattooer, then be a bad tattooer. I don't give a shit.
And they've been an aesthetic for a while. I feel like, you know.
Yeah, but there's people that are like booked out for like 2 years doing terrible, like not even like good stick and poke, like shot. Terrible.
Yeah.
And they're just making money.
Crushing it.
It hurts my head. I don't understand. Make that money. I don't care. But it does make me go, why the fuck am I trying so hard?
Right.
But it also made me think about that, too. I was watching. Have you seen The Bear?
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm dying to see it. We were talking about it today. I've heard good things, and I was like, I need to go home and watch
Is that the one
show.
with the guy from Shameless?
Yes.
Yes.
There was this scene in it that I watched the other day that made me think about it. Even though it's about the restaurant industry, it really pertains to anybody that's in the creative in any way industry.
Yeah.
There's this guy who really just doesn't give a shit, and he's really jaded, and he's just frustrated that he's always held to this standard, and he's like, why can't it just be like this, right? And he goes and he like moonlights at this place to learn to become a better chef, and he doesn't understand why people are doing things so uptight and so to the marker and all these things. And he walks into this room, and there's this chef that's like peeling mushrooms, like the most stupid thing you could think of. And he's like, why? What are you doing? And she goes, well, I mean, it makes it people think that it's reflecting that we actually took the time. It looks like we took the time. We're thinking about it. We're showing that effort that we really care. And he's peeling the mushrooms with her, and he's like, why do you do this? Like, why? And he asks a question that I didn't think about, but it was a great question to ask. Why do you have to do it to this standard? Why? And no one ever explains why it should be really good. We're always talking about how something should be good, but we don't talk about why we care about it being good in the first place. And the chef is going on to talk about how she feels about the quality of her work, how doing really good work has fulfilled her inside. It's made her life worth living, to see the reaction in the person that's eating her food, to see that, these people that have been waiting for, a year to get into this place, they're paying attention to every tiny little thing. It was so rewarding, and that's why she's in there doing all these like grunt work things. And the really cool part about it, she walks away and someone goes, yes, chef. And she's the owner of this multi-million-dollar company, of this restaurant. And he thought it was just some, like
some lady that was
some person in the
peeling
back.
shit, yeah.
And it was the owner, the millionaire lady, was doing the grunt work, actually taking time and focusing on this and making sure that everything was perfect, because it had value to her, because she felt good about giving the most, even when nobody was watching.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so, it like gave me like goosebumps, because I was like, that's it. That's the shit right there.
It's all in the details,
When
the little
nobody's
tiny
watching.
details.
Like, do an amazing tattoo and try to think like you're not going to post this. The quality of your tattoo should be the same whether or not people see it. But, it's thinking about, does everything have to be, it has to be good? But think about why you want to be good. Why does it make you feel good when you do something really well? What does it give you? If you can actually tune into that feeling, you're going to want to do it more, and you're going to want to push yourself more. It's not going to be about money pushing you or whatever. When you can come in tune with the thing that makes you feel good about what you're doing, you're going to feel a lot better about doing your best.
For sure. Man, I'm going to Google this on my phone.
The bear, yeah.
So the idea of doing all this extra work that nobody sees, I feel like is the exact thing that tattooers do. All the homework that we do, drawing for hours, researching and studying designs and everything like that, your color theory, like all that is behind the scenes that people don't realize how much effort you're putting into it to then apply that to the tattoo. Right. That at that point, people are watching. The guy getting the tattoo will watch. If you posted, people on the internet will see it. But there's so much that goes into it that nobody even realizes. But artists who really love their work and love their craft, they're putting so much work into it.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I have a designated place in my house. I have to have the right TV show on, the right lighting. I have everything like set. I'm not looking at my phone. I have this designated time, and I'll draw for sometimes 6 hours on one piece. And I don't necessarily tell the client that, but I could do it in 2. But if I take longer, really because I have this thing I want to do as good as I can. I want to do better because I know the rewarding feeling it is to do really good and to learn something about yourself when you realize that you just did something that made you a little bit better. And, whether it's tattooing more, if you're not in the shop enough, like for any artist that's not in the shop enough, you're not going to get better any quicker. The more you tattoo, the better you're going to get. it's kind of like you can only become a professional after so many certain hours and doing certain things, but like there is something to be said about how much goes in behind the scenes that you're talking about to become a great tattooer. And it's not just sitting at home and drawing. It's actually going out and meeting other tattooers. It's conventions. It's sometimes guest spots. It's doing styles that are out of your comfort zone. Doing tattoos for less than you wanted to charge them for. And, you know, I just feel like you do have to take the piss out a little bit of yourself to find a new part of yourself to get better. And I don't think a lot of people want to do that.
No, because people are lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you.
Is it laziness or complacency?
Probably both.
Do you think some people don't try as hard because they don't appreciate tattooing the way you do?
I think there's a spectrum to it. I think that some people get into the job because it's the cool thing to do. Some people get into it because they know they can make money. Mm-hmm. And then some people get into it because they actually love doing it. Mm-hmm. And, there's the whole spectrum of wherever you lie on. It depends on how much work and effort you put into it.
Yeah. It is really frustrating when you see people that are really good at tattooing that don't care about it that much.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of my biggest pet peeves. And I think I said this before, tattooers that are great tattooers but have no tattoos.
Oh.
You don't really love tattoos.
My culture is not your costume.
Yeah. To me, dude, if you're a tattooer with no tattoos, that just tells me that you love to make art and you like to make money from it doing tattoos. But you don't really love tattoos, because if you did, you'd have some shitty ones.
Yeah.
That's somebody that loves tattoos. They have some bad ones, and they got them for fun because it was cool.
Somebody said once, I don't trust a tattooer with only good tattoos. I was like, well, maybe they just actually got into it recently when tattooing got really good. And he's all, nah, fuck that.
Fuck that. Because, there's a lot of truth in that, But I do know some, young tattooers that started tattooing when they're, fucking 18 years old. All their tattoos are sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it blows my fucking mind. They're like, God damn. Every tattoo on your body is fucking amazing. And,
how dare you?
Yeah, what the fuck, And, it's been weird to me now being an older tattooer and have tattooers be like, hey man, I saw you on Best Ink when I was in middle school. And I was and I wanted to get tattooed so bad and blah blah blah, and and then I wanted to be a tattoo artist, and then they have all good tattoos. And I'm like, damn.
Good for them.
Good for them. You did it, man. You found your path early. So what I was looking for earlier is this thing called Kaizen, and it's a Japanese term, and it's a meaning that is change for the better or continuous improvement. And it's a philosophy that, is carried out through Japanese business, and some of the things about it is that it has 5 principles. And number 1 is know your customer. 2 is let it flow. Another one is empower people, be transparent. And another one is go to Gemba, which I don't know what the fuck that means. But
go to Gemba?
Go to Gemba, yeah. But know your customer, I think it's so important, As a tattooer, you need to know your customer. You need to know, what kind of tattoos do you want to do and who do you want to do them on, And I think that that's huge, and I feel like that's a big thing why there's a lot of tattooers that do a lot of really good work but are not compensated for their work. And I feel like the biggest problem is that you don't know who you're selling your tattoos to. You know what I'm saying? You need to find the people that want to buy your tattoos at the price that you want to sell them, Think about any product, There's so much marketing thought that goes into the way that the packaging is, because the packaging is going to dictate where it's going to be sold and how it's going to be appreciated, And you can package yourself as an artist, Every little bit of, even of a shop, but even more of just a tattooer, the way that you present yourself, the way that you sell yourself online, the way that your website looks, all of these little things will create a product. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that's big. And then let it flow, I think goes back to just let your artistic process be what it is, And most of all, have good communication with your customer, if you're like the tattooer that's like, hey man, I want you to get here in at 10 a.m., but we're not going to tattoo till like fucking 3 o'clock because we're going to hang out in the morning and we're going to like, I'm going to freehand on you. Then we're going to order some food. I know tattooers that work like this. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, we're going to be here till like midnight, dude. You're going to be here all fucking day. And at the end of the day, those people that get tattooed by those guys fucking love them, dude, because they love that whole experience with them. And that's fine because they did the right thing, which they knew their customer and they knew how to like reel people in that kind of buy into this whole experience of tattooing and is bigger than just like the guy that it's like, hey, come in at 3 o'clock and I'm going to bang your tattoo out from like 3 to 6 and you're going to be done and we're going to be out of here, you know? Completely different experience. So I feel like little things like that will definitely, you know, if you establish yourself, you're going to do well. And from a shop owner's perspective, to empower people and be transparent, I feel like it's huge, you know? Like, you know, don't let your voice be the only voice that's heard in your shop, you know? Like, make sure that everybody feels like they can be heard and be transparent with your decisions and let them know why you're making them. But at the end of the day, when you're the shop owner, make sure that you are secure in the decisions that you're making so that other people can believe in you.
It's a lot of responsibility having that, though, you know?
Yeah. It's a pain in the ass. I hate it.
And, you know, and I do feel the responsibility to present an example to the people that work with me, but the difference there is I'm also my own artist going through my own ebbs and flows. And I wish I could be on all the time. I wish I could show them the perfect example, what it's like to be a hustling-ass artist. It's on the way to, you know. But I'm in my own little part of my career right now where I've already gone through the hustle, the travel, the filming, the gnarly shit. I'm in my quiet little hibernation space right now.
Like, I'm chilling here.
Where I'm just like, I'm doing me. I'm doing 3 days a week right now. I'm chilling. And then I also feel like I need to teach the hustle to them, but it's hard because I can't, well, not to all of them, but like certain people that you know, certain people that are on the come up. I wish I could be in my, like, the peak of my hustle so they have that example to run off of. But then I remember I didn't have an example when I was in my hustle.
Nobody held your hand and took it. No, you just did it.
So it's like you can't teach drive. You can't push drive. You have to either want it or not. And whoever has that drive will ask anyone around them that is established all the questions possible. So I do have to remind myself, okay, I don't need to be that on tattooer all the time if what I need right now is a peaceful time in my career, because I worked really, really, really hard.
Well, you worked really hard to get to where you're at. And I feel like that's kind of
I'm in the reward space right now.
You're in the reward space. It took a lot of work to get there. And I feel like sometimes tattooers forget that for you to reach that level of comfort, there's a lot of work that needs to be put in, you know? And it's not fun and it's not chill and sometimes it's not glamorous, you know? Like when I'm happy that I spend many, many years traveling, but not every fucking convention was excellent. Not every fucking guest spot I did was sick. Not every trip I took was perfect. A lot of things came from it, you know?
You know how many people don't want to do a guest spot because they are not guaranteed to tattoo there?
Yeah.
A lot of people are like that don't want to do a convention because they don't have clients lined up. Yeah. I feel like that's one of the most detrimental things that you can do if you're on the come up. Sometimes, and I compare it to at least like I would travel with my husband when he was in a touring band, but he would explain to me a lot of how it was in the early days of him touring. And I saw him in the time where it was a packed room every single time, and it was his reward space. But I didn't see him in the come up where he had to play to a lot of empty rooms.
Yeah.
And I had to tell someone recently, you know, do you want to be the biggest local band, or do you want to be known around the world, around the country, but you had to play to a couple empty rooms? In my opinion, for me personally, I want to be known on this level. I want to have that kind of exposure, and I'm okay with taking the shits on the way to get there. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay with me. But for some people can't afford to. Some people have families, and they literally can't afford not to do that.
Yeah.
And I respect that. If there's a possibility of there being a loss in money, and you can't afford to do it, then don't do it. But some people are willing to take the sacrifice, and I think that's really what some people got to think about. Do you want to be the best well-known tattooer in your little small town, or are you okay with hustling as a small fish in a bigger pond?
And I think nowadays, man, with the internet and the power of social media, man, you don't even have to leave.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah.
You don't even have to leave. It's just you have to be willing to put yourself really out there. You know, if you're not willing to put yourself out there and really give somebody the experience of you through this small camera, you know, like for everyone, because, you know, I know tattooers are amazing, really fun when you're around them, and then you put them like in front of like, hey, just come. No way, I can't talk to anybody. They're like, no way, I'm not doing that.
What,
You
in
know?
front of a camera?
Yeah, you put them in front of. They're like, no, not talking to anybody. You know, and you're like, dude, but you're great. You're so personal. You're so fun.
Yeah.
You know, just try to, you know, replicate that and reach out.
You know how many good artists
A lot
were
of
on
people.
Inkmaster? Incredible artists that once they were in front of the camera,
They're like,
ooh, it was done. It was a wrap for them.
All right, so that's a wrap. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you'd like to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/honesttattooer, become a Patreon member, and you can get some extra tips and a little extra conversation that not everybody gets access to. So if you want to support the show, please do that.
don't forget to subscribe and smash the like button and share this with your friend, guys. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Peace.